Prince William has reportedly approved royal titles for Queen Camilla's children, a move that's breaking tradition and shaking Buckingham Palace. The decision has stunned royal insiders and sparked major backlash. Is this a bold step forward or a dangerous shift that could split the monarchy from within? The royal bombshell. Did William really approve this? The palace gates might look still, but behind them, whispers are shaking the walls. A rumor has swept across the royal landscape. Prince William may have quietly approved a title change for Queen Camilla's children. The news didn't come through an official statement. It arrived in a wave of anonymous leaks, tabloid whispers, and sharp-eyed royal insiders connecting the dots. And while Buckingham Palace has stayed silent, the shockwaves are impossible to ignore. The mere idea that Camilla's children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, could receive royal titles has thrown the monarchy into a tailspin. These aren't just ceremonial honors. The whispers say William may have approved the use of HRH styles, possible Duke-level status, or at the very least, formal integration into the royal order of precedence. That's a huge shift, and not just for Camilla's family. It would redraw the invisible lines that separate the royal blood from those outside it. If this is true, one royal watcher commented, William's decision could set a precedent the monarchy hasn't dared to touch in over a century. Historically, titles are reserved for those with royal blood, and Camilla's children are not part of that lineage. They're from her first marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles, and have always been private citizens kept at a distance from the crown's formal workings. So why change that now? Some believe this may be a personal move by William, not one pushed by his father, King Charles. The timing suggests a deliberate choice. With the monarchy facing ongoing scrutiny and public appetite for change, William may be stepping into the driver's seat earlier than expected. And yet, this move would shake royal tradition to its core. There are only a few examples in British history where non-blood royals were ever granted titles of real significance. Even then, it was rare, controversial, and carefully managed. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. Why William? Why now? And if true, is this his way of shaping the monarchy to come? Or is he walking into a political minefield that could backfire? As one former palace aide put it, once you change the rules for one person, you can't stop the questions that come next. And that's exactly what's happening. Because now, the world isn't just asking if it's true. They're asking what this really means for the royal family. Which brings us straight to the heart of this brewing storm. Who exactly are Camilla's children? And why has the palace worked so hard to keep them in the shadows? Meet Camilla's secret circle, her untitled family. Camilla may be queen, but her children have always remained in the background, by choice or by palace design. Now, with news of potential titles swirling, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes are suddenly at the center of attention. So, who are they, really? Tom, the elder son, is a well-known food critic and writer, while Laura is an art curator. Both have lived quiet, private lives, far from the royal spotlight. They have no royal titles, no place in the line of succession, and until now, no official role in the firm. And yet, they've always been close to the inner circle. Tom was spotted at royal events, sometimes even seated with senior royals. Laura has kept a much lower profile, but was famously a guest at both William and Harry's weddings. They aren't strangers to royal life. They just weren't supposed to be part of it. So why are things changing? Some say Camilla has long wanted her children to be formally acknowledged. Others claim that this push is less about Camilla and more about William consolidating power, bringing all of King Charles's family into the royal structure before his own reign begins. But here's the kicker. The British public has never fully embraced Camilla's side of the family. Despite years of careful PR, many still view her as the woman who replaced Diana. So giving her children royal status could stir backlash that even William might not be ready for. They were always meant to be part of her life, not the crowns, a former royal biographer noted. This move changes that forever. It also raises big questions. Will they be styled Lord or Lady? Will they be granted ceremonial duties? And most importantly, what makes them more entitled to recognition than Harry and Meghan's children who fought for their own royal titles? Whether this was William's strategic move, Camilla's quiet request, or a larger plan from Charles, it puts Camilla's untitled family front and center. A place they've never held before, and one that could split royal watchers straight down the middle. But the biggest question still remains. Is Prince William quietly reshaping the monarchy behind closed doors? And if so, what comes next? Let's dig into how much real power William actually has, and whether this title shift is a royal trial balloon or the first step in a silent revolution. Prince William, the prince who pulls strings. Behind the polished smile and calm demeanor, Prince William may be exercising more power than the public realizes. With King Charles still firmly on the throne, most assume William's role is purely supportive, but that may not be the full picture anymore. Insiders are now whispering that William had direct input on the rumored title change for Camilla's children. It's not just a family favor, it could be part of a bigger power shift already underway inside the palace. Officially, royal titles are granted by the monarch. But unofficially, influence can come from anywhere. And William, as the future king, has a louder voice than most. There have already been hints that he's involved in key decisions behind the scenes. From staffing choices to public messaging, William is no longer just observing. He's shaping. William is not waiting for the crown to be handed to him, one royal aide was overheard saying. He's acting like a king in training and testing the limits of his authority. This title move could be his way of drawing new boundaries within the monarchy, expanding who's in and who's out before the next generation takes over. But there's a risk. William has spent years building an image as the steady heir, the modern royal who understands tradition but connects with the people. Approving something this bold and this divisive could undermine that brand. He's already been careful with public appearances, speeches, and even the way he raises his children. So the idea that he would throw his weight behind something that feels politically dangerous is raising eyebrows, even among palace insiders. And if this wasn't his decision, that opens another possibility. He was pressured into agreeing. Either way, his name is now tied to a change that's rattling the entire royal structure. As one senior commentator put it, if William signed off on this, he's not just playing the long game, he's rewriting the rules while no one's watching. And that brings us to the real shock. What happens if this title change actually goes through? Because the ripple effect won't stop with Camilla's family. It could tear through royal tradition at every level. The fallout, a title change that could rewrite royal rules. If this move is real, and all signs suggest it is, then the monarchy is standing on the edge of something big. Giving titles to Camilla's children doesn't just affect them. It forces the entire royal system to confront a question it's been avoiding. Who truly belongs? Until now, Camilla's family has lived quietly outside the royal structure. Private lives, no titles, no royal duties. That distance was by design, a way to avoid stirring up old scandals or muddying the public image of the monarchy. But that boundary may have just been shattered. If Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes are granted formal titles, it reopens every debate the palace has tried to shut down for years. Why them, and not Harry and Meghan's children, who had to fight tooth and nail for their own recognition? Why now, when the monarchy is supposed to be slimming down, not expanding? This isn't just a favor, it's a fracture, and once it starts, there's no telling how far it'll go, one royal expert said bluntly. This decision could stir internal friction, not just with the public, but within the family. Would Charles support it openly? Or is this another example of William testing limits while his father watches quietly? What about Princess Anne and Prince Edward, long-serving royals who have never asked for more than their duty? Would they see this as fair? And let's not forget the public reaction. Social media is already buzzing with claims of favoritism and hypocrisy. Supporters of Diana, Meghan, and even Prince Harry see this as yet another example of the palace picking who gets lifted and who gets left out. The bigger danger? It opens the floodgates. If these titles go through, what stops other royal-adjacent relatives from demanding the same? What message does it send to a public already questioning the monarchy's relevance? This is more than a title. It's a test of loyalty, identity, and legacy. And one wrong move could send the whole House of Windsor spinning out of control. Up next, we dive into the fight that's been building for years, royal tradition versus modern change, and how this decision could mark a point of no return. Old rules, new royals, the war between tradition and change. The British monarchy has always thrived on one unshakable rule. Bloodline defines everything. You're either born royal or you're not. But with the rumors of Camilla's children getting titles, that centuries-old structure is cracking right before our eyes. For years, the firm has fought to stay relevant without losing its roots. And now, with Prince William reportedly backing this move, we're seeing a collision between old-world hierarchy and modern flexibility. Camilla's children are not royal by blood. That's a fact. And until now, that fact kept them out of the system. But this decision suggests those lines might not matter anymore. Not if personal favor or politics can override tradition. The question is simple. Can a monarchy survive if it starts playing by new, personal rules? Supporters say this is just William moving with the times, embracing a blended royal family and breaking outdated barriers. But critics see it as a contradiction. William has spent years promoting a slimmed-down monarchy, cutting costs, trimming roles, and keeping the crown focused. So why now would he expand that circle to include Camilla's children? You can't say the monarchy is slimming down while secretly adding new players to the royal deck, one commentator put it. It's a moment that reveals something deeper. The House of Windsor is not just adjusting to modern life, it's fighting for its identity in a world that doesn't believe in kings and queens the way it used to. Every decision now has consequences. Every title handed out risks upsetting the delicate balance between duty, perception, and power. And with Camilla's children at the center, this isn't just a symbolic shift. It's a declaration that the rules of the past might not matter anymore, as long as the right people are writing the new ones. But not everyone inside the palace is ready to follow this path. In fact, behind the palace gates, this decision has reportedly triggered something much bigger. A quiet panic. Buckingham Palace in panic mode. While the public speculates, inside Buckingham Palace, the mood has turned cold and tense. The rumors about Camilla's children getting titles didn't just stir curiosity, they've reportedly sparked outright panic behind the scenes. The issue isn't just what was decided, it's how it was decided, and how unprepared the palace seems to be for the storm it's unleashed. There's been no official statement, no denial, not even a whisper from senior aides. And in the world of royal PR, silence is never random. According to insiders, crisis meetings have been taking place since the story broke. Senior advisors are divided. Some believe the monarchy must back the decision to show unity and modern progress. Others are warning that pushing this through could fuel resentment not just from the public, but from within the family itself. King Charles is said to be caught in the middle. On one hand, this move benefits his wife and her family. On the other, it risks reopening old wounds, especially with William and Harry still divided. Could this be Charles quietly letting William lead? Or is it a sign that Charles is losing grip over the institution he waited his whole life to control? There's also a question of timing. Why now? Why push this during a period when the monarchy is already walking on glass, from financial scrutiny to family scandals? Some believe this leak wasn't an accident, that it may have come from inside, a test balloon to see how far they can go before backlash explodes. This isn't just a title change, it's a spark on dry royal ground and everyone knows it, said one longtime royal correspondent. And the effects are already spreading. Staff are nervous. Family members are watching closely. Advisors are scrambling to figure out if they can spin this, or if they need to shut it down completely before it spirals. But there's one thing no one can deny. Something big is happening behind those palace walls. And if this rumor turns into reality, the fallout could change the royal family forever. Coming up next, how the public is reacting, and whether this decision could backfire in ways even William didn't expect. Public fury or quiet approval? The people speak. The palace may be silent, but the public is not. As the rumors of Camilla's children receiving royal titles gained momentum, the internet exploded. On Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube, royal watchers from across the world are making one thing clear. This isn't just controversial, it's deeply personal. Supporters of Princess Diana have been especially vocal, calling this move an insult to her memory. They see it as a reward for Camilla's family, while Diana's grandchildren with Meghan still face resistance and scrutiny. One user tweeted, "They denied Archie and Lilibet what was rightfully theirs, and now Camilla's kids might become lords? What kind of monarchy is this?" On TikTok, creators are digging up old interviews and quotes, showing how hard Diana fought to protect her sons from the institution that now seems to be rewriting the family tree. But not everyone is outraged. Some voices, mostly from the more moderate side of royal fandom, are cautiously defending the move. They argue that if Charles is king and Camilla is queen, why should her children remain as nobodies? They didn't choose this position, and perhaps it's time the monarchy reflected the reality of modern, blended families. Still, even these defenders are walking on eggshells, because the timing feels suspicious, and the silence from the palace only makes it worse. Without clarity, the vacuum is being filled with outrage, conspiracy, and speculation. International media outlets are now watching closely. Australian and Canadian networks are already asking whether this reflects a monarchy drifting further away from the Commonwealth ideals of equality and fairness. And the polls? Early indicators suggest the British public is split. Older generations lean toward tradition. They're uneasy. Younger people, while more open to modern moves, still don't understand why Camilla's children are being prioritized over the Queen's actual grandchildren. As one columnist summed it up, this decision could have made sense if it wasn't soaked in double standards. And the real danger? Once public trust starts to erode, even well-meaning reforms become impossible to defend. Which leads us to the next urgent question. Is this change even legal? Because if Prince William really did approve this behind closed doors, could it land the monarchy in a constitutional mess? The crown versus the law. Can this even happen? In the royal world, nothing is done without layers of protocol, paperwork, and precedent. Titles are not handed out like party favors. They require formal approval, usually from the reigning monarch, with the backing of senior advisors and sometimes the Privy Council. So here's the catch. Even if Prince William is next in line, he does not have the legal authority to grant or change royal titles. Not yet. That power lies with King Charles, and only with official documentation, like letters patent, can anything be made official. If William truly backed this move, it raises serious constitutional questions. Was it just his personal support, a symbolic blessing, or is there a behind-the-scenes agreement that's already been drafted? If anything has been signed without public disclosure, it would be a clear breach of royal transparency, warned one constitutional expert. And that's not a small thing. The monarchy depends on public trust, not just pomp and ceremony. Any sign of backdoor decision-making, especially on something this sensitive, risks turning a family issue into a full-blown legal scandal. There's also precedent to consider. Back in 1999, it was decided that Prince Edward's children would not be styled as HRH, despite being entitled. That was a deliberate choice, to keep the monarchy smaller. So if Camilla's children are now being elevated, how does that align with decades of decisions made to preserve tradition? And don't forget Parliament. While titles don't usually require a vote, a controversial change like this could spark debate, especially if the public demands answers. If the story gets bigger and pressure mounts, legal action could follow, or at the very least, calls for investigation into who approved what and why. This could be one of those moments that changes how royal authority is understood, said a former Whitehall advisor. It looks like a family story, but it could turn into a constitutional one overnight. So now the question isn't just whether the public supports this, or if it makes sense emotionally. It's about whether it was even done properly, and what happens if it wasn't. Next, we turn the spotlight on the woman at the center of this storm, Queen Camilla herself, and why this decision may be about more than titles. It could be her final move to rewrite her legacy. Camilla's last play, Power or Legacy. At the center of this growing storm stands Queen Camilla, the woman whose presence has always stirred quiet tension within royal circles. For years, she's carefully rebuilt her image, shifting from controversial companion to respected consort. But this rumored title change? It may be her boldest and riskiest move yet. Sources close to the palace suggest this wasn't just about royal protocol. It was deeply personal. Camilla has always kept her children close, yet just out of sight from the public stage. Now, after decades of separation from royal status, this could be her final push to secure their place in history. Some insiders believe Camilla sees this as an act of justice, a correction of sorts. If she is queen, why should her children be excluded forever? But critics argue it's more than that. It's a power play, designed to reframe her legacy before the next generation takes over. She's not just securing their future, one courtier observed. She's making sure her own story ends on her terms. But the backlash is real. Many feel that Camilla, who once lived in the shadows of Princess Diana and is now trying to rewrite the royal script altogether. And this move puts her directly at odds with public sentiment, especially among those who still see Diana as the true Queen of Hearts. There's also tension behind palace doors. Reports hint at growing unease between Camilla and William, who has always walked a careful line between honoring his mother and accepting his stepmother. If William truly backed this change, was it out of loyalty or quiet pressure? Then there's Catherine, Princess of Wales, whose image has long stood as the quiet backbone of the modern monarchy. Any shift in the royal family's structure affects her too, not just symbolically, but strategically. Camilla's silence on the matter has been telling. No statements, no smiles, no subtle PR corrections, just silence. And for a royal who's spent years reshaping public perception, that silence feels less like confidence and more like calculation. This might be Camilla's final chapter, her moment to define not just how she's remembered, but how her family will live on inside the House of Windsor. But as this drama unfolds, one question still hangs in the air. What happens next? Because this isn't over. In fact, it might just be beginning. What happens next? 4 scenarios that could shake the throne. Now that the rumor is out and the palace remains tight-lipped, speculation is spiraling. And while nothing official has been confirmed, 4 very real scenarios are now on the table. In the first, the palace quietly approves the title change, slips it into a subtle announcement, and hopes the storm fades. This would be the most controlled option, but also the most controversial. Once confirmed, it cements the shift and invites permanent comparison to how Harry and Meghan's children were treated. In the second, the palace issues a firm denial, calling the entire thing media fiction. This could work if no paperwork exists, but if even a whisper of evidence leaks, that denial will backfire badly. And it could fuel a narrative of cover-up, favoritism, or worse, manipulation from within. The third option? A half measure. Camilla's children receive honorary or courtesy titles, not HRH, not dukedoms, but something that acknowledges their connection while keeping them outside the official line. It's a safer route, but also a slippery slope. Because once the wall is cracked, people will ask, who's next? And the final, most dangerous path? Delay. Push the change off until William becomes king, then implement it quietly in his own reign. This tactic buys time, but it also creates a ticking time bomb. Every royal move between now and then would be watched, analyzed, and potentially politicized. Whatever path they choose, the monarchy has already crossed a line, said one royal historian. This isn't just about titles. It's about loyalty, memory, and what kind of institution the crown is becoming. No matter how it plays out, the consequences will ripple for years. Public trust is already shaky. Family dynamics are strained. And now, even the question of who gets to wear a title has become a national debate. This isn't just a story about Camilla's children. It's a turning point for the monarchy itself. Because once the gates are opened, there's no going back. If Prince William truly approved these titles, the monarchy may never look the same again. Camilla's children, once private citizens, now stand on the edge of royal power. Is this a bold step toward unity, or a quiet revolution behind palace walls? One thing's certain, the crown is shifting.